In this episode of Let's Code Games, we design a property system so that we can have full control over which objects can get destroyed by a bomb and which cannot. Welcome to Let's Code Games. Last episode we started implementing the bomb and we want to continue that today. So let's jump right in. So here's a scene that we left off with last time. So we have this bomb just lying around here and we can pick it up. And then when we look at our character scripts, we created this editor inspector that shows that we have this item. Same with the sword, for example. We pick that up, so we have a sword and a bomb now. And with Q, we can place that bomb. It's a little bit small. I want to make it bigger in the explosion as well. So what I want to start with today is a system that we can assign a destructible property to different objects, or destroyable by bombs, something like that. So we can design items in the environment that can be destroyed by a bomb. And in this example, we're going to use the stone here, so we can destroy that one, because at the moment the stones cannot be destroyed at all. So being able to do that with a bomb creates design opportunities later on. Let's create a test environment that is a little bit easier for us to use. So we have the bomb pickup, and we also want to have a stone in here right next to it, so we can immediately make it explode. It's below the other stuff. Let's just increase the order layer so it's above the shrine. Okay, first of all, I want to increase the size of the bomb a little bit. And there are a couple of ways to do that. I mean, we can simply... Where's the bomb pickup? There you go. We can simply increase the scale here. But one other thing that we can do is we can change the way Unity imports the sprite. So you can see here, and when I click the sprite of the bomb pickup, you have this pixels per unit property in the inspector. And that's basically... how many pixels make up in the sprite make up one Unity unit. Right now it's set to 100 and the sprite is 64 pixels wide. So at the moment the size of this would be like 0.64. But if I set this to 64 and then hit apply, basically now the size of the bomb is 1 unit. And for the pickup, this seems a little bit too big. But all the other sprites that we used previously for the items all have that 64 pixels per unit measure. So I want to be consistent here and rather adjust the size of the bomb pickup a little bit, so it fits more the size that I want. So we had basically an equivalent of, this was the size before, and let's see if maybe 0.8. I think 0.8 looks a little bit better. Then we can go into the main prefab and increase the circle collider a little bit. Hit apply, and now we have a slightly larger bomb, which looks a little nicer. And the same thing needs to happen for the bomb that I'm dropping, and also the explosion. So let's find the prefab so we can see how it looks. Prefab items, the bomb pickups are there, and this is the actual bomb prefab. And then we have in the effects the bomb explosion as well. And if we open the animator window with Control 6, we can actually scrub through, and let's look at this sprite while adjusting the size. Okay, let's start with the bomb. So let's go back to the item folder and then go to the bomb as well. And this bomb already has a pixel per unit of 64. So basically we can simply adjust the size here. Let's maybe try 1.5. So I think that's a good size for the bomb. So we apply that. And then let's go back to the explosion effect. Let's see what the sprite looks like. So the bomb explosion is already set up properly. So we simply increase the size here as well. And in this case, well, let's close the animation window so it doesn't animate. We don't want to animate the scale here, we simply want to set the scale. So I think that's a little bit more satisfying to have it that size. Okay, so hit apply, remove the bomb explosion, remove... That was not the bomb explosion, that was the main camera. Remove the bomb explosion, remove the bomb. Let's press play again and we maximize the bomb, drop the bomb, and explosion! There you go. Okay, that's a little bit better. So now we want to design a system where we can destroy that stone here. So first of all, I want to have a property that I can apply to the stone so it can be destroyed. And that property, let's see where we put that. The scripts, maybe we call it we create an environment folder. And then make a properties folder inside of that. And then I create a script and call it destructible by bomb. And using a component to basically give the object a property is much better than, for example, using tags. So what we could also do is we have a tag here and call it destructible. And then the bomb can find all the objects with that tag and destroy them. But each object can only have one tag, but they can have multiple components. So what we can do is, if we simply add this destructible by bomb here, and the component doesn't do anything at the moment. Maybe later we can add something like what's the effect that is being played when it's destroyed. But at the moment the component is empty. The only thing we're using it for is so that the bomb script can then find that component and destroy the object. Let me show you how this is done. So in the prefab for the bomb, where is it? Items, the bomb. So we do have a bomb script already. So let's open that. And first of all, we want to define a radius, and then explosion radius. So let's load explosion radius. And we want a way to visualize that. So if we have this collider here, where's our bomb? Oh, I haven't positioned it. So the other objects, they have colliders, right? For example, like this bomb pickup, so we can see the green circle. But we don't have that with the bomb at the moment because it doesn't have a collider or a trigger, and we don't need a collider or trigger for that bomb. Let me add the bomb here. So let's find a way. Well, first of all, that's fine. So let's find a way to create a similar effect. And there is this concept in Unity called gizmos. And gizmos are exactly what the circle collider basically is. It's a way to visualize data in the scene view. So you can draw boxes, you can draw circles and stuff like that. And we want to do the same thing here. So to do that, we create a new function called onDrawGizmos. And in that function, this function is called by the scene view to draw these. So, and in that function, we can use the gizmos class. And for example, we can set the gizmos color. And let's set this to a yellow. And then we can call gizmos draw. Well, in this case, it's a sphere. And the center is the same of where the object is, and the radius is our explosion radius. And now once it compiles, you will see that we can increase the explosion radius, and there is this sphere here that is being drawn. That is not really nice. So let's see, we have another function called draw wire sphere that we can use. And there you can see you have well, it's a 3D sphere, so that's why you have these the X in between. But basically, it's the same thing that than drawing a circle. I think you are able to draw a circle maybe through handles. I'm not quite sure. Well, for now, this is the easiest way to do this, and it should be fine for our purposes. Yeah, but the other thing that so now we can visualize our explosion radius and design it basically. The other thing that we can see is that the bomb is really, the visuals of the bomb is really not centered around it. So let's change that a little bit so we can move the visuals so they look a little bit more in the center of the actual bomb. Center that. Okay. So now we can design, let's see, maybe an explosion radius of 2. Let's start with 2 and see what happens. Okay, we apply this, and now we have this nice debug circle showing us how large the how large the radius of 2 is, and then we can use the same radius in our script. Okay, so the bomb script basically checks how much time has elapsed since it was created, and then destroys the bomb. So let's create a new function for this on explode, and then we put everything in there. And then we create another function, explode apply explosion to maybe destroy objects in radius, or not objects, as destroy destructibles in radius. I think that's the best way to describe it. So we destroy the destructibles in radius, and then we call onExplode to create the explosion prefab and the game object. So for this, we're going to use physics2d to find the objects. Physics2d overlap circle, and the overlap circle basically gets a point where it starts and a radius, and then it finds all the objects, all the colliders and triggers that are overlapped by that circle. So we have an overlap circle from our position using the explosion radius. And we want to make sure that we get multiple results. And we do that through overlap circle all. Otherwise, it would just return one object that is found. We don't need any of the other properties. So this returns all the colliders in our radius, and now we need to check all of them. And we check if they have the destructible component. So for each collider in radius, we call getComponent destructible by bomb. And if destructible is not 0, well, maybe we can on destroyed by bomb, and then we simply call it destroy the game object for now. But this way we can create another destructible by bomb object for specific objects later on if we need to, that have different properties, and we can override that function. So if the destructible exists, then we call it on destroyed by bomb. And that's it really. So let's go back to the scene here. We have everything set up. This stone here has the destructible by bomb property. Let's hit apply just to be safe, and then try and see what happens. So pick up the bomb, we place the bomb, and then explosion, and the stone explodes. And we used a similar system for the interaction system with the overlap circle and overlap areas and stuff like that. And this is just a great way to find objects. And using the overlap circle, or you can also have overlap spheres in 3D, using that in combination with a property component, just like we did now, like destructible by bomb, we can create systems like that where you find objects nearby where you can find objects in a specific area that have this component attached to it. And this way in the environment you can tag different objects. So maybe we could create a burnable component later on, or a freezable component, and then each object can have multiple components, multiple properties that we can assign per object, and we can design which object should be able to interact with which item, stuff like that. So this way, once we build on that, we can create interesting interaction systems. Okay, so the bomb works, which is great. Now we need a way to two things. First of all, I want to display how many bombs we have in the UI. And then I want a way that we can find items. At the moment, we have in the shrubs here. So we have a component called drop item on destroy, and then you have a probability that an item is being dropped. I want to expand on that a little bit, so we can have multiple different probabilities in there. For example, we have a probability of 0.2 for the ruby, but we also want to have a probability of 0.1 for the bomb. And in this case, we may not necessarily want to create both at the same time. So if we just add another component and another drop item on destroy, both would calculate their probabilities independent of each other, and it would be possible that a bomb and a ruby would spawn. And that is also sometimes maybe the behavior that we want, but at this point, we only want to have spawn one or the other. So we want to expand on that a little bit. Okay. So first of all, let's create the UI, and that should be pretty simple because basically we already have that with the Ruby. When we go here, so the Ruby text that we have here, basically it has a component called UI item counter, and we can set the item type that it should display. So basically we just copy all of that, change the icon around and the item type, and then we're already done. So we duplicate these with Control D, and then we call this the bomb icon and the bomb text. Move this over, maybe to over here. And we can use the bomb pickup sprite in here as well. That looks pretty nice. And then for the bomb text, we simply change the item type here. And that's why we design components like this. We could have like a big UI item script that gets the Ruby and then assigns it to the text, and then you add the bomb counter to that. But since we have this simple component that counts an item type that we have, we can simply duplicate stuff like this, and we don't have to create a bunch of duplicated code. We can reuse those components. So for bigger projects, it's always important to think about how I can create small components that I can reuse for different stuff, just like the properties, for example, and this item counter. So now when I press play, let's maximize here, see if this works. So if I pick up the bomb, then my bomb counter goes up immediately, which is nice. In this case, I don't want the 001 format because it may be a little bit obnoxious for bombs. Maybe we don't have as many, but we can have the number format here. Let's say maybe we have 2 digits. Or in this case, we simply maybe we only want to have 1 digit. So we have 0 bombs right now, and now we have 1 bomb. That's a little nicer. Okay. Move the bomb, make a little bit more space. Okay. So that's our bomb counter. And next we want to change the probabilities a little bit. So the script was called drop item on destroy. Let's look at the script here. So we have a probability with a range from 0 to 1. So from impossible to always happening. And we have this function on loot drop. And when is that called? Okay, so that's basically an event being set by the components that are being destroyed. Actually, I don't like that a lot, but that's fine for now. We just leave it like that. So on loot drop, we get a random value. We see if it's bigger than the probability, and then if yes, we spawn that. So we can refactor this a little bit. So we want to have a function spawn, or maybe drop item of item type. And then we can put everything in here, and then instead of the drop item type up here, we use the item type in the function. So that's basically we just refactor it right now. This is the same thing as before, but what we can do now is we can move all of this in a struct, and a struct is basically just similar to a class, but you can have a list of properties in there. So we call public struct drop item probability, and then we move all these in here. And now I can use this in an array. So I can create an array of probabilities. But before this works, I need to tell Unity that Unity can serialize this. That's just a step that I need to do so that Unity knows it can save these. It can save this new struct. And in order to be able to do that, all the types in here must be serializable. So the basic Unity types are serializable, and enum is serializable. Basic data types like int and float are serializable, of course. So basically everything that you can see in the inspector when you make it public means it is serializable. So since this is now also serializable, we can use it as a public variable, and it will show up in the inspector. And now, instead of just checking this one probability, we can check all the probabilities. So we need to change it so we access the array. Okay. Oh, there's this one position that we still need, and that's designed. I think the drop position is always the same. I think we can move that out of the probability and then move it into the component again. Okay, so we check the probability, and instead of returning, because if we call return here, the function would stop. We actually want to continue to the next probability in this for loop. But if we do drop one item, we want to return. And maybe that's something that we want to be able to set up on a per object basis. But for now, that's the behavior we want to have. We don't want to over-engineer our scripts here. Just implement the behavior that you need at the moment. And if we need new behavior later, we can add that. So we go through all the probabilities, check the probabilities for each individual item. And if we find one that we want to drop, we drop it, and then we return out. We don't drop anything else. So let's go over to the, I think we have this bush prefab. And the drop position would be, I think, ourselves in this case. And we have a probability of 2 instead of 1. And now you can see, since we have this serializable struct, we can use this in an array. And then all of the items of the array would be shown. So it can either drop 1 rupee with 0.2%, or it can drop a bomb. And for now, just to test it, let's make it a very high percentage. So apply this, destroy this bush. Let's press play and see if they actually do use, they do. Perfect. That prefab. And now if we, let's get the sword and destroy these bushes here. And there should be, that's either unlikely that nothing has dropped or something is wrong, which is always bad in a probability script. So let's increase the probability to 1. On loot drop, we go through, we check a random value. If the random value is bigger, then we want to continue. Yeah, okay, that should work. Oh, I know what's wrong. The bomb itself is not set up yet in our database. So in resources database, we have this item database, and we don't have the bomb set up there yet, so it can't be dropped. So maybe we create a warning to do that. So if data is 0 or data prefab is 0, we can't spawn this item. So let's create a warning here. Can't drop item type, no data found. So now the warning should sound in the console here, can't drop bomb, no data found. And this would have told us that what's wrong. So we are going back to our item database, and then we have 2 rubies now, I just duplicated it before, and we create a bomb. It is not equipable because we just pick it up. The animation when we pick it up in a chest, maybe one-handed, maybe two-handed. Let's make it two-handed because it's a weapon. And then obviously the prefab is the bomb pickup prefab. So now when we destroy the shrubbery down here, all of them should drop bombs. Okay. And then we can pick up the bomb. Oh, okay, so that's why we don't have... No, we don't want to have an animation when we pick that up. So no animation. Maybe we want to have 2 different properties here. One when we pick it up in a chest, and one when we pick it up in just lying around. And there you go, and then we dropped a ruby over there. So now we have multiple probabilities in our bushes to drop different items. So let's actually create maybe the bomb pickup probability is 0.1 for now. All right, so now we have a way to display how many bombs we have, a way to pick them up. The bombs work, they can destroy the stones. And actually, I think we need to go to the stone prefabs. We have multiple stones here. And make sure that all the prefabs have the destructible by bomb property. Okay. Let's create the one thing that we did just mentioned in the item database, so that we can separate between the 2 different pickup types. So we have the pickup animation, and we rename this. We have animation in for chest, and then we have animation for for drops. Let's right click, find all references and see where this property is actually being used. So we have it in the inventory model. So when it's being added to the inventory, and then we have it in the view, but I guess the view is just making sure that the animation is playing. So at the moment we have it in the inventory model, which is kind of, well, we don't know in the add item function if we got this from a chest or if we got this from a loot drop. So we need to create a way to be able to specify that. Let's create a enum let's create an enum pickup type from chest, from drop, and then we can pass the parameter here if we want to. And here as well, we need to make sure that we pass this on. And now data, we get the proper pickup animation. So we switch the pickup type that we have here, and in case we get it from a chest, the pickup animation that we want to play is from item data animation from chest. And in case the pickup data is from drop, want to change the pickup animation to item data animation from drops, for drops. And now we can use this pickup animation variable right here. And I guess we also need to pass this on so the view knows what's up. So where does is frozen true, get item that's being picked up, find item in database. Okay, and then we have I think we need to pass on the pickup type. So maybe instead of putting it in here, we put it next to the item type, so we can use it in other scripts as well. And then we want to pass show item pickup, we want to pass on the pickup type. So here we get the data that we're picking up. And we want to store that value, where we pick that object from. Picking up object type. And we want to be able to get that value, so the view can know which type of animation it should play. And I guess in the item data we can create a script called get pickup animation for the pickup type. So we can use that all over the place. So basically, the thing that we implemented here in the animation model before, in the inventory model, we can move that over to the item database. And this way we can simply query the item type, which animation should be played depending on which pickup type. Okay, let's go back to the inventory model. Get pickup animation for the pickup type that we have. Nope, the variable pickup type. Show item pickup. The pickup type needs to be stored. Also, not the type, but the variable. IntelliSense is not working with me today. So we stored the pickup object type. How we're picking up the object, we can get it. And now in the view, instead of querying the animation for chats directly, we go get any pickup animation, and then from the movement model we get the pickup type. So that was a long-winded way. Something's still not working. All right. We need to make sure that we actually pass on the pickup type, of course. Collectible item on trigger enter. I think this should be from drop. And in the chest, we can pass on that we get this from chest. So now we have this split path where we can design different animations if we get the item from a chest or from a loot drop. So the sword from a chest, one-handed. The shield from a chest, two-handed. Ruby from a chest, one-handed. Bomb from a chest, two-handed. For drops, we don't want to have animations here. But if we somehow pick up an object, a weapon, we want to use one or two-handed. Okay. So now we can pick up bombs like this, but if we were to, let's hack the chest here. change the chest to a bomb, pick up, and then we move over and collect the bomb from the chest. The two-hand animation is being shown rather than no animation. So we can differentiate between the two, which is quite nice. Okay. I guess the bushes can be destroyed by the bomb as well. So let's make that happen too. Destructible by bomb. But here's something different. So the bush here has an attackable, and the attackable creates the different effects of the bush. So rather than destroy this, we actually want to create a specific variation of this, which is the attackable destructible by bomb, which inherits from destructible by bomb, and it overrides the on-destroyed by bomb, and rather than destroying the component, it gets the component attackable base and simply calls on hit. And why does it need a hit collider? It doesn't need a hit collider. Let's pass on null and see what happens. And then it's being destroyed by a bomb. So now it doesn't just destroy it, it actually gets the attackable component and calls the on hit, which is for the attackable types is the proper way to go. So go back into the bush, and then rather than adding destructible by bomb, I add attackable destructible by bomb. And now we can, when we go to the bush and we drop the bomb next to them, they all get destroyed. But you saw this animation playing, you saw this new destroyed objects is being created, and that is all being handled by the attackable component. That's we designed that beforehand, so the on hit does all that. It destroys the bush, it creates the destroyed bush prefab, and it drops the loot. And this way, all this functionality is being used by the bomb as well. Okay, I think for now that should be enough. I think we implemented everything that we needed. Let's see here. So the bomb can destroy stones now. There's no effect for that yet, but we can actually do it. So we can design levels for it. We can destroy the bushes. We can have different drop probabilities. And yeah, I think that's a good stopping point for now. If you have anything that you want to see, let me know so I can make that happen. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.